Welcome, everybody, to Palace Off the Top Rope. Gosh, it's just a huge week, and it's already in full gear. Not only are we on the road to WWE Clash of Champions, the next pay-per-view event, we got the fall movie season and the NFL about to kick off into high gear beginning Thursday. So this week is so huge that I got 2 episodes planned for you guys. This one's going to focus primarily on the fall movie preview and what I'm looking forward to on this final couple of months in the year 2019, the last couple of months of the decade. And then later in the week, I'm going to drop another episode, which is going to cover all of the NFL Week 1 matchups and my predictions, and also what I think is going to be the Super Bowl matchup this upcoming season in Miami, Super Bowl 54. It's been a huge week for me already. I dropped a spin-off show on the history of SmackDown. That one is available on Apple Podcasts. So let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to give you a little bit of what I'm going to be doing forward with as far as like Raw and SmackDown. There's going to be a lot of wrestling coming up, but I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do right after this quick break. Stay with me.
Oh, hell yeah. You can't see me! She's out, Doc.
I-O-N. Submission.
This is great! This is awesome! And it's boom drop time for Kofi. With an RKO out of nowhere! All hail the Queen! What is this maniac doing? The dead man has risen! Oh no!
What is that smell?
If you smell what the Rock is cooking! We got a new champion! We got a new champion!
Welcome back to the show, guys. So there's going to be a lot of wrestling shows once October comes around. You know, I'm actually going to have 4 shows, guys, that I'm going to be watching on wrestling. That's super exciting for a guy like me who's been, a fan of wrestling for over 20 years. I'm going to have Monday Night Raw. I'm going to have AEW and NXT on the same night on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we're going to have SmackDown on Fox. So either I'm going to have to devote an entire, episode to just wrestling and then stick one with just movies and then one on the NFL. There's going to be a lot going on for me. And that's just the way I like it. I'm always waiting for this part of the season to come because it's just boom, 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 one thing after the other, and it's just all full speed ahead, and it all ends with Super Bowl 54. So I don't really want to cover Raw and SmackDown detail for detail. That's what I did for y'all in last week's episode. But I feel it's going to be a little bit redundant. Once all the other shows come together, it's going to be, I think it's going to sound a little bit boring if I'm just doing the exact same thing for every show. So what I think I'm going to do going forward is I'm going to watch these shows, and then I'm going to pick out little things that I like and then just go into them for a little bit. So I'll call this segment, What Palace Enjoyed About Wrestling This Week. So let's start off with Monday Night Raw. Obviously, the big story here is that Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch have officially made their match official for Clash of Champions for the Raw Women's title, which I think should be the main event. It's the hottest feud going right now. But the biggest thing from Raw that came out of this feud is the Bayley heel turn, which assisted Sasha in getting the upper hand on Becky this past Monday. So Becky came out during the show, gave her promo, and talking about how Sasha shouldn't have been whining because she had all these opportunities given to her, main events, championship runs, while Becky, had to scratch and claw from the bottom and had to, just really, really get herself noticed to get in that top spot. Sasha Banks retorted and saying, she didn't want to make it personal. She just wants, she wants the championship match. She's here for the money. Boom, you got your feud right there. It's set up perfectly. They've barely gotten a hand on one another. It's perfect. The promos, everything is hot fire about this feud, and that's why I think it should main event. So during this episode, there was a segment where Bayley got interviewed in the back. And I should have caught this. There was a lot of foreshadowing. So she gets interviewed, and she's talking about her match that she's going to have, where she's going to team with Becky against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross in what they're calling the Champions Showcase, which is basically all the women's champions together in one matchup. So she's getting interviewed, and the interviewers egging Bayley on about her friendship with Sasha and how she hasn't commented on any of her actions. Bayley saying, you know what, this is a personal matter. I don't really want to comment on it. You know, why don't you ask me about being the SmackDown's champion? You know, I'm doing what I can to make this division soar and make it the top of the business. And the interviewer, again, just eggs her on and saying, you know, kind of putting Becky in the spotlight, saying like how she's the face of the division and all this and that. And Bayley's kind of like, okay, well, you know, we're going to have this match and then we'll see, you know, who's in whose shadow by the end of the night. And I should have caught that, you know, knowing me, I'm just like, I've watched these shows and all these storylines happen for so many years. I should have caught something as little as that as foreshadowing of her turning into a bad guy. So, anyways, we have the match at the end, and it's a whatever match. It's going against Bayley and Becky for most part, because Bayley's getting the beat down by Alexa and Nikki throughout the whole match, and then finally she gets the hot tag to Becky. You know, Becky runs wild, starts doing her thing, and then during this whole matchup, Sasha Banks had made her way kind of sort of to ringside. She was kind of like towards the end of the rampway, but not really close to the ring yet. So she was there the whole time watching this matchup. And finally, when Becky gets her mojo going, getting all her stuff in, Sasha makes her way in. Boom, starts beating down Becky. Ref calls for the match. During this whole time, I'm wondering where Bayley's at. Sasha Banks grabs a steel chair, begins to beat the hell out of Becky, swinging and swinging away. And then finally we get Bayley coming into the ring, takes the chair away from Sasha. Sasha's looking at her like, what the hell? Like, you're actually going to do this to me? Like, you're going to betray me like that? And just when you think Bayley is just going to, like, you know, throw the chair away and just say, you know, enough of this, she gives that little evil smirk to Sasha, which was a nice touch, and then begins wailing away on Becky, solidifying her heel turn, because we all know Becky's like the huge face of the company right now. But the surprising thing is that the crowd is actually cheering. So we all know, and I think most of the crowd has been wanting Bayley to turn for a while, and I think this is why they're cheering. It's not so much they're against Becky Lynch. They're just they're excited about the freshness of the Bayley character that we're going to get with this potential heel turn. And that was the best part of Monday Night Raw, and it carried over to SmackDown, which I didn't think it was going to that much. I knew Bayley was going to show up because she's part of the SmackDown roster, but, you know, Sasha showed up, and continuing her feud with Charlotte Flair, and Bayley's kind of playing this thing like, you know, she doesn't think she's doing anything wrong. She's loyal to her friend. She's being a role model for the kids, you know, being a stand-up like champion. But underneath, you know, she's doing like at what cost, right? She's doing these things with Sasha that are villainous, and, you know, they do the same thing to Charlotte. In the opening segment of SmackDown, you know, they beat her down with a chair. And who knows what this is going to mean for Charlotte? Is she going to get into that role of the baby face? Because she's been the heel this whole time, ever since her feud with Becky Lynch, dating back to late 2018. This is WWE, so they can do whatever they want at any time. They could turn anybody into a good guy or a bad guy at the drop of a hat. So I'm thinking they're going to transition Charlotte into the babyface role as Bayley gets accustomed to the new heel role that she's going to play along with Sasha. And again, the crowd right now is behind it. They're cheering Bayley. So they're liking what they're seeing. So I don't know. They tried to do this with Becky last year and it backfired. They tried to make her into a heel, and the crowd just continued to cheer for her. And granted, it hasn't been as strong for Bayley, but it's there. So, just exciting stuff. Makes me more pumped for the Charlotte Bayley match now. That has some actual meaning to it now. So that, along with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, again, I hope it's the main event of Clash of Champions. It's the hottest feud, even hotter than what they're trying to set up with Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. Even though they're going to use Stone Cold Steve Austin to buffer that matchup, that was the other bit of news to come out of Monday Night Raw is that Stone Cold Steve Austin is going to moderate the contract signing between Braun and Seth next Monday night from Madison Square Garden. They got to get those ratings up. They got to get those ticket sales going for that show. They aren't good right now, so adding Stone Cold Steve Austin to that list is going to help things. And, so those are the big things. The semifinals or the quarterfinals were this week. The quarterfinals were this week on Raw and SmackDown. You had Baron Corbin defeating Cedric Alexander, and then you had Samoa Joe and Ricochet kind of on a double count out, I guess, on both of them. They both got pinned. The referee, flubbed it. They made a decision that it's going to be a triple threat, so both Ricochet and Joe advance. So next Monday night, triple threat match, Samoa Joe, Baron Corbin, Ricochet on the Raw side. And then on tonight's SmackDown, you had Elias versus Ali. Elias getting the nod. And Andrade versus Chad Gable. And the surprise upset of the week, Chad Gable defeats Andrade, moves into the semifinals. And so I'm going to predict what's going to happen for Clash of Champions because the winners of those matches go on to face for the finals of the King of the Ring. So I'm going to predict either Samoa Joe or Baron Corbin. That'll be the Raw side. And then I'm going to go with Chad Gable on the SmackDown side, and that should make for it'll make for a fun matchup, whatever it is, for the Clash of Champions pay-per-view in the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. So that's, what else did we get set up for Clash of Champions? The Miz versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental Championship, and Roman Reigns versus Eric Rowan in the continuation of that feud. I won't go too much into it because honestly, it's not really doing anything for me, even though it's been a continuing storyline for a couple of weeks now. So that's what I enjoyed about wrestling this week. And, next week I'll do a full Clash of Champions preview as we'll be heading into that next weekend. But let's take another quick break. And when we come back, we'll get to the heart of what this episode is really about. My fall preview. The 2019 movie season is coming to an end. We got the final few months of the decade. What am I looking forward to? Stay tuned. You're going to find out next on Palace Off the Top Rope.
I don't want to be dependent on anybody. I just want to be able to take care of my grandma.
These Wall Street guys.
You want them drunk enough to get their credit card, but sober enough to sign a check.
Help! It's my husband!
We didn't do anything wrong.
Is he dead?
Hustlers.
Tony wouldn't let this happen. I'm gonna text him.
Who gave her phone back?
Tickets available now.
Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. So let's not waste any time. Let's start getting into this because there's a few movies that I want to check out as the end of the year draws near and we end the decade. Quick little note, I think I'm going to be working on a top 25 best movies of the decade, starting from the year 2010 and what may make this list. There's still a few movies. Some of these, one or few, may make this list, so we'll see what happens. So the fall movie season officially kicks off. We're in September, right? Officially kicks off this Friday, September 6th, with It Chapter 2. So I'm going to go in order by the release dates. That's not in order of my most anticipated. So here we go. It Chapter 2 is the first one that I'm looking forward to. Again, those of you that know me, I hate horror movies. Not hate them, but it's not really my genre. And it's not really something that I do like to see in the theaters, It's not that the material scares me. I'm more about the jump scares, and out of nowhere. That stuff is what gets to me. And I have really bad anxiety over that. I can tell you only a couple of movies that I've seen that I thought horror-wise where I took a shot and went to the theaters. First one was The Conjuring, just because it sold me. It sold me on the marketing and the trailers to go check that out at an actual theater. And again, of course, there was jump scares. But I was able to brave it. Last year with Hereditary, I thought that was one of the scariest movies. Really well made. Not so many jump scares. It was more the material that was kind of frightening. So I braved it out for that one. And then, of course, the first It, which came out 2 years ago. The premise of it and the hype of it. And it had a huge opening at the box office. and everybody was talking about it, and I couldn't deny myself. I had to go check it out for myself, and I enjoyed it. I know there was people that said, "Oh, it wasn't scary or whatever," but it still had its jump scares, and the kids in the movie were very entertaining. So it was a pretty good movie on my end, not just like for a horror movie, but just overall as a movie, it was pretty good. So of course, I want to see how the story continues, and this is supposed to be the finale. I know that we had the miniseries back in the day, which was set up into 2 parts or something like that, or it was a 4-hour miniseries. Not really sure on the details on that. So we knew there was going to be, I guess, some type of sequel to this. But when I watched the first one in the theaters, I didn't know until the very end when it said It Chapter 1, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get another one. I've heard the early buzz on it. I've heard a little bit of mixed, but the consensus on most of it, and by the way, I never really go by what critics say, and I say this for you too, and don't even pay attention to what I think of movies. I can recommend stuff to you, but I always say, go see it for yourself. Don't ever get swayed by fans or fanboys or even critics. You go see the movie for yourself and you decide if you like it. Just because a critic may say a movie's bad or a consensus of them say is bad, doesn't mean it'll change your experience of how you saw a movie. I think a perfect example of that was everybody hated that last Fantastic Four movie that came out. I mean, everybody just dogged on it. But I enjoyed it for what it was, what it attempted to do. You can change the way I experience a movie, and there was things about it that I enjoyed. Was it a perfect movie? No. Was it even a great movie? No, but I liked it. So always judge it for yourself. Don't worry about the critics or Rotten Tomatoes or even what I think. Just goes. All I can do is recommend it or not recommend it. But again, you make the decisions for yourself. So again, It Chapter 2. What I am getting swayed on though, and this is only because I want to see this person succeed and have so much accolades go his way. And that is that everybody's been talking about how Bill Hader is a real standout in this movie. And that makes me super excited. Because not only was he awesome on SNL, but in every opportunity that he's had to be in a movie, whether it be Superbad, Trainwreck, he was always a side character in these Apatow movies, but he always made the best of whatever material was given to him. And he's really come into his own with the HBO series Barry. And I think that's one of the best TV shows I'm watching right now. And if you haven't caught it and you're looking for something to watch or start, binging or whatever, there's 2 seasons on HBO, 8 episodes each season. It's a quick watch. I guarantee you it's funny, it's riveting, the cinematography, the direction, all of it is fantastic. So like I said, I want to see Bill Hader get all the accolades and get all these opportunities. So I'm glad to be hearing about all the praise he's been getting for his performance in It Chapter 2. So it officially starts Thursday night, but that's the kickoff of the NFL, the Bears and the Packers. I think I'm going to be all in on football Thursday night, so I'm going to try to catch this one on Friday, and then I'll have a review for you probably in the upcoming week after that. So that's it for that movie. That starts this Friday, September 6th, and I think it's going to make a lot of money. I don't know if it's going to open to as high as the first one did. I think It Chapter 1, I believe it opened to around $123 million. Now I got some, flack thrown at me earlier this year. I think or once the runtime came out for this movie, I believe it's 2 hours and 50 minutes, something like that. And then when you add in the previews, it's over 3 hours. I think that's going to hurt its box office chances on breaking the record of the first one. So I'm thinking it's going to do under the original. I'm thinking 105, 110 million. You'll hear that's my prediction here. So you got me on recorded audio. That's my prediction. People are thinking it's going to open to above 130 million. But I also posted a poll on my Facebook page and Twitter. And on Twitter, you got people that think it's going to go over. And then on the Facebook one, you got people that think it's going to do under. So we'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated once I see the movie Friday, hopefully, if everything goes according to plan. And then on next week's episode, I'll try to give you a review and updated box office standings. The week after that will be September 13th. The movie Hustlers will be coming up. It's another one I'm interested in. Sold me straight on from the trailer. You got good actresses in it that I like. A strong trailer song by Cardi B titled Money. Search it on Spotify. I was jamming out to it the moment I found out what that song was. And sometimes movies can do that for you. It can sell you on a trailer and sell you on the song when they make it look all hip and cool. Jennifer Lopez, always good and still hot as ever. Lily Reinhart from Riverdale, which another show that I watch, she's good in it. Constance Wu, fresh off the boat. She was great in Crazy Rich Asians from last year. So just good actresses, and this kind of looks like one of those like rags to riches, but there's corruption, and it's going to be good. I just got a feeling about this one. It's going to be one of those where it's like they show you like the end of the movie, but then they backtrack to how they got to that certain point. And I know this is more positioned as a girls' night out movie, but it still got my attention. I want to see it, and looks pretty entertaining. And right in the middle of September, so can't dog on it. And I think it's also going to have a good box office. Won't make any predictions here, but it's going to make money. It's got good marketing and a good cast. It's going to do well. Here we go. This is my most anticipated for September. Well, let's start with this one because there's two of them. The first one, not my most anticipated, but I'm still looking forward to it. Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. Space movie. Looks like it's a father and son dynamic. It's going to be real interesting. This movie, the marketing hasn't really sold me, but it's Brad Pitt, so I'm going to go see it. This could be either one of the, this looks like either it could be a weird movie or a straight up, blockbuster type, The Martian with Matt Damon. I'm thinking more it's going to be a little more character-based. That's more Brad Pitt style, so I can see this kind of being a weird movie. So, Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones, James Gray. We'll see how it ends up, but I think it's going to lose that weekend to the movie that I want to talk about next on my list, which is the most anticipated for September, and that is Rambo: Last Blood. Sylvester Stallone continues the grind. Unbelievable. We thought Rambo was finished in 2008. We saw him go home, as my dad likes to say. We saw this guy go back home. That was a pretty good wrap up of the character, but looks like there's more story to be told, and Stallone wrote the story. I don't think he directed. No, he didn't direct it. Or maybe he did. I don't know. I don't think so, but either way, I'm super pumped up. Stallone always puts heart and soul into projects that he wants to see get done. He didn't think this Rambo movie was ever going to get made. It's been, I don't know how many years we've had this character in our lives, and it's got a good premise. It's got the look of Logan, like a Western type post-apocalyptic for some reason. You get what I'm saying. It just has that look and feel of like an isolated dystopia. It's rated R, so it's going to be hardcore violence, and it's one of the last movie star action stars that we have, Stallone. And I know people like to give this guy crap over not being that good of an actor or making fun of the way he talks like this, but I have a lot of respect for this guy. He's one of my heroes, in the movie world. This guy's a writer, he's a director, he's an actor. He does it all, man. And I wish this guy nothing but success in anything that he's done. And for a guy like this, you think usually by now he would have transitioned into TV and being just an old guy on whatever, being a grandpa, but he's still doing it just like Tom Cruise. These guys just they're good at what they do. They love what they do, so they're going to continue to tell stories. And this Rambo story looked like it's got a good story. So I'm looking forward to it. It's my most anticipated for September, and what a great way to end the month. And then we head into October, guys. October 4th will be the start. Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Todd Phillips. It's already screened at certain festivals, and I can tell you guys the discourse for this movie is already super annoying. There's people that love the performance. I don't know if so much the movie. I'm kind of trying to stay away, but it's all over my Twitter feed, so it's kind of hard to ignore some of it. But yeah, really looking forward to it. The trailer's been really good. Looks more character-based and not anything trying to set up a world like the way Marvel does. And I'm okay with that. These movies need to be different. They can't all be the same. So I'm all for like a centric, like one story. Doesn't even have to be straight from the comics, even though it's going to piss off a lot of the fanboys. But get over it. These characters are all like, they can have different interpretations. It's art. Let the director tell the story that he wants to tell. It looks like in the vein of Taxi Driver and, just that look, just more character-based, gritty, dirty, like physically, like it looks dirty, like just all of it is just very interesting. Todd Phillips' last movie, War Dogs, I liked it. It wasn't that big of a mainstream hit, even though it had Jonah Hill and Miles Teller. But you could tell it's kind of veering towards the darker side of the Todd Phillips personality. We know Todd Phillips mostly from the Hangover movies, Road Trip, Old School, mostly dealing with comedy. But if you saw War Dogs, it was built as a comedy, or that's what it made it look like. But the movie was kind of darker. And so, he's got the chops to try to do this Joker movie. So it's going to be real interesting to see. And then, of course, if it gets any nominations for Joaquin, and we know Heath Ledger won for the Joker back in 2008 for The Dark Knight. Just super, super interesting, and of course, super excited. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a super divisive movie. You're gonna have people that are really into the Joaquin part of it, the acting, but then you're gonna have other people that don't like it because it's not like really comic booky in a way. It's not Marvel or MCU, and that's okay. We need different types of these movies if we're going to continue to just dive into comic book property. These movies can't all be the same. Every once, like, you have your MCU movies, but then every once in a while you get a Logan or you get the Dark Knight. MCU can do its thing, but these movies all got to be different. So yeah, Joker, October 4th. And then I'm going to give, October 11th, Gemini Man with Will Smith. We're saying the movie star is dying or has been dead for a while, and this is like an original property. This is a script that's been floating around since like the late 90s, I believe, and they're finally getting made. We have the technology to get it made right. It stars Will Smith. I'm going to check it out. I don't know if it's going to do well. It's going up against The Addams Family, but we got to see these original movies continue to be made, guys. They got to be successful, or if not, like I was saying earlier, it's just going to be comic book movies and franchise and remakes and live action adaptations. Like, that's just tiring, guys. And I don't want the theater experience to just be that. I preach it all the time. I'm full on for this movie doing well, and I'm going to check it out just to support it. October 18th, my birthday, Zombieland 2 Double Tap. I'm going to have to do a rewatch on the first Zombieland because it's been a minute since that first one came out, and we're going to see if that gap in how many years. I think it's been like, I want to say it came out in 2010, so it's been almost a decade that this movie didn't get a sequel. And we thought we would have had it sooner. All the cast is back: Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, Abigail Breslin. It looks like more of the same. It's going to be fun times. I think this is going to be a movie everyone's going to go check out and see. There's not really any horror movies coming out during that time, so I think this is going to be the alternative. And I'm sure, I forgot if the first one was rated R or not. But either way, people will check this out. It's going to be their Halloween movie for the month of October. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. It's actually going to start October 17th, I believe. I think with limited screenings on the 16th. But looking forward to that. It's got all these cameos from everybody that was in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. All the Ask View universe. Ben Affleck's back. Matt Damon. That's all pretty much I need to sell you on that. The Kevin Smith era of comedy, I don't know if it's going to translate well in 2019, but we'll see how he updates it and see what he does different with it. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a Fathom event. I don't know if it's going to be widely released or if there's a theater that you've got that's got Fathom movies. You might want to check your local listings on that one, folks. I know for sure we're going to get it in San Antonio, so looking forward to that. So October's, I think that's pretty much it in October for me. So we got Joker, Zombieland, Double Tap, Gemini Man, just to support original movies, and then the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Let's take a quick little break here, and when we come back, we'll finish wrapping up the year and what I'm looking forward to. This is Palace Off the Top Rope. We'll be right back.
Major, what's happening out there? Could destroy all life.
Tell me what happened.
Spacecom believes my father's responsible.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
You know what you'll have to do. I worry about you. I love you.
Ad Astra, rated PG-13.
Welcome back to the show, guys. All right, so let's continue going here. We're now in November 2019. November 1st, Terminator Dark Fate. I'll admit, I've got my reservations about this movie. The last two Terminator movies haven't really come through. That being Salvation, and then the last one they tried, Genesis, which was, to me, was just an abomination. It was just a joke of a movie. They're touting this one as a return of James Cameron as a producer, even though he endorsed the Genesis one. So I don't know what that's about. So I don't know if I to trust that or to trust him being a producer on this. The first trailer for it didn't really sell me. It didn't do anything for me. It's got the return of Linda Hamilton and Sarah Connor. Arnold Schwarzenegger's back, of course. And I don't know. It used to, like, when you see Rocky on screen coming back, like, it's still a big deal. But now seeing, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator role, just, I don't know. There's just something about it where it doesn't click anymore. But anyways, they released a second trailer, and that one's a little bit more interesting, a little bit more upbeat, and the spirit of what the Terminator franchise is. It looks like it's more in line with what Judgment Day was. So, and this is touted as welcome to the day after Judgment Day. So, I don't have high expectations, but hopefully it's good. It's from the director of Deadpool for whatever that's worth. I mean, the movie was fine, but I don't know if that guy is like a big time director yet. Also on November 1st, we're gonna have a limited release of The Irishman, and that's the big Martin Scorsese movie with Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, another one of my most highly anticipated movies of this year. It's going to be a limited release in theaters. We don't know where it's going to land up, if it's just going to be like a New York, LA thing. But we do know for sure on the 27th, which I believe is around Thanksgiving time, it's going to be exclusively on Netflix where you can just watch right away and however many times you want. Excuse me. Yeah, hopefully we do get it here in San Antonio because I really want to see this thing on the big screen. I'm going to see it regardless, but gosh, like I said, like movies like this, I wish would still get the theatrical treatment for like the extended period that it's supposed to. I believe there was fights with Netflix and the theater chains about having this in the theaters for a certain amount of time, and it was either Netflix or the theaters. I don't know what the issue was, but it's only going to have like a limited run, and then of course it'll be on Netflix, but still highly anticipated. The run time, I believe, is 3.5 hours. If that's to be believed, there's so many reports on it, so that's going to be awesome if it is. I'm all for it. Martin Scorsese movies usually are pretty long, so 3.5 hours is really nothing. Avengers Endgame was 3 hours, so deal with it, people that think that it's too long, or people that binge show after show after show for so many hours. It's not big of a deal, guys. 3.5 hours, whatever. Let Martin Scorsese have his fun. Another one, I'm not sure on the release date on the theatrical side, on the limited run, or the Netflix drop date, but it's Marriage Story with Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson. And I know this movie, it's going to hit me personally because it deals with divorce and, children and all that stuff. So I have a feeling this movie's going to wreck me. So I'll be looking forward to it, but also not looking forward to it. But also this one's getting a lot of buzz. So we'll be hearing about it come Oscar time. But that's one to look out for. I'm not sure. It might be November 1st, but it might be like a couple of weeks later. But either way, looking forward to that. I didn't. When I was going over this list, I was going through November, and I didn't think there was that many that I wanted to see. But now, like looking back on it, like heck yeah, there's like some really good ones here. So November 8th, we got Dr. Sleep, which is kind of the sequel to what I think is still the scariest movie ever made, The Shining. This one's got Ewan McGregor. The trailer's been creepy and frightening, and it sold me right away. I'm gonna brave it for this one. This one I think is for sure gonna be scarier than It Chapter 2. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous for this one, but I'm gonna brave it out because, like I said, I love The Shining, even though it still scares me to this day, and I think it's still the best horror movie ever made. So we'll see if the sequel can either live up to or even at least try to match what the first movie did. Up next on November 15th, the first one we got coming up is Charlie's Angels. We've seen this reboot already, but I'm a big fan of Kristen Stewart, and she's so energetic in this. This is a movie I didn't see her doing. She's gone back to doing like independent movies once her Twilight run was over. So she's been in a lot of smaller movies, so it's good to see her like in a blockbuster Hollywoody type movie again. And it looks like she's having a blast, and she's like the main selling point for me on this. It's directed by Elizabeth Banks, so I'm also a big fan of. So we'll see what this iteration brings, whether it's any good. Who knows? Honestly, it doesn't, but it looks like I said, Kristen Stewart looks like she's having a bunch of fun, and I don't know if she did this just for the paycheck, but I'm going to check it out either way. And here we go, folks. This is the one I'm most looking forward to in the fall movie season. And that's Ford v. Ferrari from director James Mangold, the guy who directed Logan, the guy who directed Copland. This guy is one of the most underrated directors in Hollywood that just doesn't get the credit due that he should, And he's brought together a good cast here. Matt Damon, Christian Bale, two of the biggest actors. We saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood earlier this July with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. I don't know if they're as big, but they might be just a little bit stronger on doing like the more like under the radar movies. DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are just bigger stars. But I think Matt Damon and Christian Bale are going to bring some unbelievable energy to this movie. Race cars. This one's screened already also, and from the people that I trust and that I follow have said that this movie is just off the charts. It's unbelievable. It's got Oscar written all over it. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it's hopefully it's a box office hit, a financial hit. It's another one of these movies that's not based on franchise or comic book. Like let's get everybody out to the theater. Let's go see movie stars on the big screen. This is a true story, but it looks mainstream. It's got race cars. It's a feel good story. It looks like, and it's going to be coming out around Thanksgiving time. So this is going to be a good one to check out with the family. I think it's going to be PG-13. I don't think it's going to be rated R. I don't think there would be need for it to be, but who knows? But yeah, this is definitely my most anticipated. I thought it was going to be The Irishman, but the more I've been watching the trailers and just reading up on this movie, I can't deny that this has jumped right up there to the top of the list. So be on the lookout for that one, November 15th. November 22nd, we got two of them that I want to see. This one I just caught the trailer for probably like a day or two ago. And the trailer's been out forever. I don't know how I just got around to it. 21 Bridges with Chadwick Boseman. Executive produced by the Russo brothers, and we all know what they've done. The Captain America movies, Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then, of course, Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. This looks like a very old school, like 90s, like thriller, crime, police, it just looks awesome. It's got that look of a 90s movie, like where if this came out like in 96, 97, it'd do like 30, 35 million at the box office. Whether it's going to be a hit, I don't know. Chadwick Boseman is, for those of you that don't know the name, that's the guy that plays Black Panther. So certainly he's going to carry some of that into this movie, and there'll be people that go out and be like, oh, hey, that's Black Panther. But we'll see how much of a success it is. Hopefully the movie's good. The Russo brothers are attaching their name to it, so they've got a lot of credit, a lot of big credentials now. So hopefully it's pretty good. And after seeing the trailer, man, I'm sold, man. Give me more of these original movies, man, and I'm gonna shell out my money to go check them out. Next is sure to be another Oscar contender as far as like the category goes of acting. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. This is Tom Hanks playing the character of Mr. Rogers. It's not a biography movie. It's more, I think, it's based on a guy that's like covering the Mr. Rogers show and doing like a piece on him and whatnot. So that's going to be interesting. So I'm glad it's not the biography we got. I think we've got our share of that over the past year or so with like Bohemian Rhapsody, and I didn't get to see Rocket Man, but I heard that was also in the vein of like biography. So it's good to see like a movie where you're taking like a real life character, a real life person, and just basing a story around him, but not necessarily completely like his origins and from birth to death and whatnot. So Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, that one's going to be pretty good, I think, and then we'll certainly be around come Oscar season. Frozen 2. I haven't talked about this one with my girls, and obviously, they were much smaller when the first one came out, and as everybody knows, this thing just exploded into a huge phenomenon. The soundtrack, everything, toys, everything was about Frozen. I think it was the year 2013 when it came out. And it was just unbelievable, the hysteria for this movie. And it just went on for months. When I was working at the theaters, it opened I think late November, and it went all the way to like February, like early March. It just would not stop. In a day and age where movies don't really last that long in theaters anymore, this one had the biggest legs possible, and I'm sure it's going to be the same for this one. There's been a little bit of a gap, but that just builds an anticipation for wanting to see the next one. So, but I got to talk to my girls about this one. I want to see if they're interested in it, and if they're not, I don't know if I'm going to want to see it, because for the first one, the reason I fed off of it was because of them. It's feeding off their energy for it. So if they don't want to see it, then I'll probably end up skipping it. But I'm putting it on here on my preview, so just in case if they do want to see it, you'll know that it was at least an option for me. So Frozen 2, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and 21 Bridges on November 22nd. And then on Wednesday, the 27th, November. Oh, okay, so it is going to be a Wednesday. So that's when The Irishman's going to drop. So just going back to that one a little bit. So it'll drop on Netflix that 27th, the day before Thanksgiving. It's going to be a good watch, along with Ford v Ferrari. And then here's another one I'm looking forward to, guys. From Rian Johnson, the director of Looper and Star Wars: The Last Jedi. It's Knives Out, a whodunit type movie. An original movie, a lot of great actors in this. Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Daniel Craig, Michael Shannon, just to name a few. Like, holy cow, like what a cast they assembled for this. Looks like a dark comedy. Again, something original, something different, something for us to go see on Thanksgiving and enjoy. I think this one's going to be also a box office hit, and one of those ones where you go eat your turkey at lunch, then you go check out a late showing for this one and just have a good time. Knives Out, that's going to be a good one. Rian Johnson is one of the best directors that we have. I know he got a lot of flack for Star Wars: The Last Jedi, which I really enjoyed. Shocker, right, fanboys? I thought that was the best Star Wars movie since Empire Strikes Back. It was just really well made, so I trust what this director's doing. Super looking forward to Knives Out. And that's going to do it for November. A lot there on that slate for me, which is good because I don't think there's that much in December. So let's run it through here a little bit. Jumanji: The Next Level. Nope, that's going to be a skip for me. And I guess if we're looking at it, the only one that I'm probably going to see is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. And yes, folks, I know I talk a lot of shit about Star Wars, but it's mainly because of the fandom and how horrible a lot of this section of people are with this franchise. But I do enjoy the movies. Like I said, I enjoyed The Last Jedi. It was really well made, and it took Star Wars in a just completely new direction. Who knows? J.J. Abrams is back to direct this one. He directed The Force Awakens, which was just pretty much a carbon copy of the first Star Wars movie. So I hopefully he paid attention to what Rian Johnson was doing here and tries to take the story in a new direction. But as we've seen in the 2 trailers that have been released, it looks like they're bringing back the Emperor, which was one of the main villains of the first couple of Star Wars movies. I won't say original trilogy because it's not a trilogy anymore. It's just one big saga because this is supposed to be the end of the Skywalker story, right? And if that's the case, then you can't call it a trilogy because a trilogy is a beginning, middle, and end. And since the Skywalker story is still going, and it's even got the damn name in the title, it's just one damn saga. Anyways, this is supposed to put an end to that part of the story. So I don't know how much is going to be carried over from The Last Jedi, which was done by Rian Johnson, who just did a phenomenal job. I haven't been excited in the trailers, but I'm going to go see it just to see how it ends. But yeah, the bar's super high for me because The Last Jedi was awesome. So I don't know. It just feels like another movie that's coming out. I mean, the hype for it is, I know it's there, but it's Star Wars, right, guys? This is supposed to be like the be-all, end-all of franchises, and it just feels like it's just another movie. But we'll see. That's coming at the end, and I know it's going to dominate all the box office come Christmas time, so it's going to make money. But it also has the opportunity to capitalize on it being the final of the Skywalker story, so that it'll just bring in the extra bucks. But yeah, that's it for the decade, guys. There's one more movie called Just Mercy with Michael B. Jordan and Brie Larson. But I think that one's going to be limited release on Christmas, unless, fingers crossed we get it here in San Antonio. But that looks like a movie that'll probably be positioned better for January once Oscar season kicks into high gear, or gets into really, really high gear. Yeah, so I won't talk about that one much unless we end up getting it for Christmas, and maybe I'll do a bigger preview of it on another episode. But I think for now, that's everything that I'm looking forward to. Plenty of stuff in November. Again, like I said, I was going through that list, and I didn't think there was going to be a lot in November, but gosh, there's a lot for me to go check out in the theaters, and that's always a good thing, right? Always want to make time to go out and check a movie at a theater. And let's take one final break, and then we'll wrap up, and I'll run through the list again just in case y'all may have missed or fast forward through any of this. We'll be right back.
Do you guys think we'll still be friends when we're older? We'll always be friends.
Yes, Jack, you don't have to be so scared.
We made an oath, remember? On September 6th.
Pennywise.
Losers gotta stick together. This is it.
Hello. No. No, please.
It, Chapter 2, rated R.
And welcome back. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this little rundown of movies that I'm looking forward to for the last couple of months of the year. Hopefully we get some real good gems and see if they show up on my top 25 movies of the decade. And that'll be coming to you probably towards the end of the year, of course, if not early January. I'm pumping out so much content, guys. I'm so excited. Tune in either tomorrow or later in the night You'll be getting the NFL Week 1 predictions from me, so that's going to be a whole other separate episode. And yeah, just a lot of good stuff. Chapter 2 starts on Friday, and that's where I'll begin my journey into the fall movie season. So thank you for joining me, and we'll talk to you next time. This is Palace Off the Top Rope.